Welcome back to We Need To. May as well start calling this show Rank at this stage because we're ranking transfer rumours yet again. Right, you know the score by now. I'm doing this every couple of weeks throughout the summer window. I'm looking at each club's biggest transfer rumour over that period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it has been. And I'm putting them into 5 categories. As you can see in front of me, I've got nailed on, I've got likely, keep your eye on it, unlikely, no chance. Very simple. I hope you get it because we're about to start. We're kicking off with Arsenal. I'm going to be doing this in alphabetical order. And the biggest rumour outside of that Rafinha L is probably Lisandro Martinez right now, isn't it? Obviously, they're very interested in Ajax's player of the year, actually, last season. A very versatile player. He can play centre-back, left-back, defensive midfielder. He's obviously a Copa America winner, multiple Eredivisie title winner. He is an extremely good player. Whenever I've watched Ajax, he has stood out as the best player on the field, really. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be very, very excited by this rumour. Now, I think they've had 3 bids knocked back, or at least 2 confirmed bids knocked back. Firstly, in the sort of £20 million region, then about 30, then about £35 million. I think Ajax want €50 million, so closer to sort of £43 million. And I'd be surprised if that £8 million difference isn't met at some stage, because clearly Arsenal are extremely keen on him. Maybe even more so now they've missed out on Rafinha. They don't want to miss out on another one of their principal targets. And Manchester United are also very interested in this player. They're still trying to get that Frankie de Jong deal over the line. But I think Arsenal want to move quickly on this one to make sure Man United don't move. Because if United were to move for him, I think he might favour United because of that Erik ten Hag connection. I'm going to put this in likely. I think I would be putting it in maybe keep your eye on if United were slightly further down the line in their interest. But at the moment, I think likely to Arsenal. If United become interested, I think they might struggle to beat the competition United. And that's not just me as a Man United fan saying that. I think the Erik ten Hag link and the fact they can pay him a bigger wage are going to be a significant factor there. But if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be so excited about this move. Aston Villa, not too many links because they've had plenty of business already happen over the first few weeks of the window. But I did see Joe Gomez linked yet again. Now, this does feel a little bit lazy journalism, doesn't it? Steven Gerrard, obviously the ex-Liverpool connection. Joe Gomez, the Liverpool central defender. Let's not forget that over the past 6 months, Aston Villa have already signed 2 central defenders in the form of Callum Chambers on a permanent transfer and Diego Carlos already this summer. So I would be surprised to see another centre-back come through the door. And I'd be even more surprised to see Liverpool sell Joe Gomez on a permanent, given he's got a contract until 2024. So I'm going to put this one in no chance. I think he may well leave on loan, Joe Gomez. Let's not forget it's a World Cup year. And I think when he's playing regularly, he's definitely in the reckoning as an England regular in the centre-back slot. But he played 300 minutes of Premier League football last year. 300 minutes in the Cup is not enough to get on the plane. So maybe he leaves on loan, but on a permanent to Villa, no chance. Let's go to Bournemouth then, because they're obviously looking for that Gary Cahill replacement. He played 22 games last season in the Championship, so a significant amount of minutes that have been kind of left vacant with him leaving the club. And they've been linked to Nathan Collins. Now, of course, Nat Phillips was originally on the radar, having spent the back end of last season on loan, but it seems like they're struggling to get that deal over the line, and Nathan Collins' name continues to pop up. I think this one, though, is extremely unlikely. This is almost a no chance for me, given that Burnley have had to sell Nick Pope. They've also let go they're out of contract, Ben Mee and James Tarkowski. And Nathan Collins was exceptional for them last season at the centre of defence. Obviously, they're looking for someone to partner Lloyd Kelly, who I think since the last time he was in the Premier League has come on leaps and bounds. I don't think it'll be Nathan Collins. I think Nat Phillips might end up happening. I feel like that's a more likely movement than a player who's in a position that's absolutely vital for Burnley. It would take big money, I think, to get Nathan Collins out of Burnley, given that he's got a contract till 2025. Brentford, I'm going to be talking about Keane Lewis-Potter, the Hull forward, of course. They tried to sign him last summer, I think. They tried to sign him in January as well, and it seems like they've had a £20 million bid accepted this summer, which would be, I believe, their record transfer. I think it's £16 million plus £4 million in add-ons, which would take him above Christopher Ayer. So this one's going in nailed on. He's very, very excited. I think it was 13 goals last season. Obviously got called up to the England under-21s as well. And Brentford are going to need firepower. They're going to need more goals this season, and I'm sure they'll be hoping KLP provides. At Brighton, they're being linked with Manu Sanchez, the Atletico Madrid left-back. Now, clearly, Brighton are going to be in the market for a left-back. I think it's very likely that Cucurella happens, and we'll talk about him in a little bit going to Manchester City. So that does leave a void in that left-back slot, although Solly March can play there. And Manu Sanchez's name has cropped up. Obviously, he was on loan at Osasuna last year from Atletico Madrid and was pretty impressive. However, Atletico Madrid are said to not want to sell and they want a loan. And Brighton don't really loan players. It's a model that they've had in the past and they've moved away from. They are much more interested in value in the market, permanent transfers they can then sell for a profit. You look at the likes of Marc Cucurella over the last few years. They haven't signed a loan player since 2017. That's half a decade ago now. So I'd be really surprised to see Brighton make a move for a loan player. I'm putting Manu in unlikely. Chelsea, we could have picked a host of rumours here, couldn't we? We could have had Rafinha, we could have had Raheem Sterling, we could have had Nathan Ake. Maybe we should just talk about them very quickly. Rafinha, I think I would have in likely. I wouldn't have him nailed on just yet because Barcelona, they're a sniffing. And I think Rafinha does want to go to Barcelona quite a lot. I think he'd probably take less wages to go to Barcelona, but it all comes down to whether or not they can afford to match the fee Chelsea have offered, which might hinge on Frankie de Jong's potential move to Manchester United as well. So I think there's a lot of complicated factors. If this was nailed on, Rafinha going to Chelsea, it would have already happened by now. So I would have him in likely, I think. This is going to come back egg on the face when he's officially announced tomorrow. I would have Sterling in likely as well. I think Manchester City are pretty keen to get a big sum for him. And I think he wants to return to London. And I think Chelsea want a goal scorer, so I think that fits. And I think Nathan Ake would be in likely as well, although 40-45 million pounds seems like a lot of money to me. It seems like a lot of money. I think Nathan Ake is a good defender, but I don't think he's the superstar centre-back to replace Antonio Rudiger, which leaves Matthijs De Ligt. Now, I'm going to put Matthijs De Ligt in keep your eye on for now, because a couple of days ago I would probably have had this in unlikely, but I saw the Juventus CEO come out on Thursday morning and say it's impossible to keep players when they want to leave the club, but all three parties in the negotiations have to be satisfied. Now that is kind of suggesting to me they might be open to doing a deal here if they get the right money or maybe the right players in exchange. However, it would surprise me given that, Chiellini's gone to the MLS. I think, did Demiral get made permanent this summer to Atalanta? I think he might well have done after spending the last season there on loan. So to lose the third centre-back, who is, highly thought of in Turin. I know a lot of people say that he's been a bit of a flop since he's gone there. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he's been something of a warrior in that Juventus backline. I would be shocked. However, quotes like that, there's a lot of confidence in the, athletic Chelsea podcast team who are extremely reliable. So I think that this is one very much to keep your eye on. And if it happens, I think it's an outstanding bit of business for Chelsea if they can get him at the right fee. Talk about Doucouré to Crystal Palace next then. This one's going in nailed on. I think a fee has been agreed here of about 21 million euros, rising to 26 million euros. He's even had a medical, and this might well be announced by the time this video comes out. Looks like they're signing a really talented player here. And they've obviously lost Kouyaté, or are losing Kouyaté. It looks like they're not going to be able to get Gallagher back on loan. Obviously, they had the problems with MacArthur and his injuries last season. He only made 15 Premier League starts, so central midfield was a priority area, and he fits this sort of new mould of player that Crystal Palace is trying to sign. He's of a really good age profile, he's pretty versatile, and he's got lots of room to grow. So I think this is nailed on going to happen, and I'm very, very intrigued to see how he does. If there's any French football fans in the comments right now, any Lens fans in particular, please do let me know what you think of him and how he's going to do in the Premier League in the comments below. Everton, still tenuous links to Harry Winks. I think I would put this in no chance now. If this was going to happen, then I think you would have seen some sort of inclusion within the Richarlison deal. I don't understand why it would be done separately. Obviously, they're getting money in for Richarlison. That 60 million fee is a big fee. And I think they were more interested in the cash throughout, really, than a player plus cash exchange. So I don't see this one happening personally. I think this is kind of fizzled out at this stage. I don't see Winks joining Everton. Andreas Pereira to Fulham. Feels like it's come out of nowhere, but it's definitely picked up speed over the last week. They've reportedly had a bid of in the region of £11 million accepted by Manchester United, and it's now up to the player to decide whether or not he wants to go to Fulham, because of course he's on loan at Flamengo. He's had a mixed time of it at Flamengo, hasn't he? Obviously, the Copa Libertadores was an absolute disaster for him. He slipped in the final, kind of cost them the trophy. He had the ultras at his house, he was booed off, but he has had some positive moments at the club as well, and he's obviously very keen to go back to Brazil. I saw the quotes this week where he says, I want to go back to Flamengo, but it's down to the clubs. And I don't see Flamengo being able to match Fulham for wages and for transfer fee. There was supposedly a fee already agreed with Man United as early as January. They then kind of reneged on that deal, and I think that's left a bit of a bad taste in United's mouth. So I think this is quite likely. I would expect to see him end up at Fulham. If he ends up at Flamengo, then all power to him, but I don't know. I think there's a bit of a bad sense between the two clubs, Flamengo and United, after they reneged on that initial deal. Leeds are supposedly one of the two unnamed clubs interested in Emmanuel Dennis. Now, they are going to need forward reinforcements. We saw what happened with Patrick Bamford last season. His injury problems just continued throughout the campaign, and they were short on goals. And Emmanuel Dennis had a really good breakthrough campaign in the Prem. 10 goals, 6 assists, playing for a really crap Watford side as well. I certainly think this is one to keep your eye on. I think Everton should be interested in Emmanuel Dennis as well. If I was Frank Lampard, having just lost Richarlison, I think Emmanuel Dennis at a cut price fee is a pretty smart bit of business. But, you know, keep your eye on him going to Leeds, because I do think they are going to be signing a fair few more players this summer, having lost Calvin Phillips and probably losing Rafinha. Leicester have no transfer rumours. It is dry out there for Leicester City. I did see this one, though, pop up on my feed. Levi Colwill leaving Chelsea potentially this summer. Another of Chelsea's outstanding academy youth graduates being chucked to one side. I don't understand what's going on there. I think it's probably unlikely Leicester go for him. I think there's more likelihood he ends up at a team like Southampton, who've already got a connection with Chelsea and have a proof of pathway, thanks to Tino Livramento, that they can take to Levi Colwill and say, look what we did with Tino, we can do the same for your career. We've seen them do it with Manchester City players, as we're going to talk about in a little bit. They've already signed Gavin Bazunu, and they're potentially signing another one. So I think it's unlikely he ends up at Leicester, but I haven't seen any rumours about Leicester. What is going on there, Leicester fans? What is happening at your club this summer? Is there any danger of you being linked to someone that's not called Charles de Coletier? Seriously. Liverpool, obviously they've done their business really this summer, haven't they? They're not going to sign anyone else, but there was a couple of rumours about this man, Jude Bellingham, going to the club. Supposedly Borussia Dortmund willing to accept about €120 million next summer. No chance this summer. Grow up. He's not joining Liverpool this summer. Maybe next summer, but not this summer. Marc Cucurella to Manchester City. I said I was going to speak about it earlier. We may as well. I think this one is probably pretty likely. I think Brighton are going to want a big old fee, though, sort of in the region of £50 million, which is going to be a high order for Manchester City to pay. And I think they'll be keen to get that fee lowered. Although the net spend at City this summer is going to be crazy. Obviously, Jesus, 50, Sterling, 50, Ake, 40. You know, they're doing some great outgoing business at Manchester City, and I would almost be surprised to see Zinchenko stay if Cucurella joined as well. So maybe he'll leave and look for new opportunities if another left-back is signed. Overall, this is just an outstanding deal. If they can get him for the right fee, it really means to me that Manchester City have no holes in that squad. It'll be a 10 out of 10 window to get Haaland, Alvarez, Phillips and Cucurella for a positive net spend. Wow. I think this one's likely as well, but he's a stunningly good player. Obviously, Players Player of the Year, Fans Player of the Year at Brighton. Serious business by City. Manchester United then, I could very easily have done Frenkie de Jong, and I'll discuss him very briefly just in case this move happens somehow in the next 24 hours. But it's looking like I had him at keep your eye on last time. I would now have him in likely. I think the number of rumours are quite positive in Manchester United's favour. Obviously, Barcelona are extremely keen to sell for what they claim isn't a financial reason. Okay, it's definitely a sporting reason. And I'm close to bursting with excitement. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself if Manchester United sign Frenkie de Jong. Ugh. What a signing that would be. What a signing that would be. But let's talk about the other rumour. The man that I want to talk about, because I haven't spoken about before, is Tyrell Malacia. This one's probably nailed on at this stage, right? Man United and Feyenoord, of course, agreeing a €15 million deal for the left-back. I think Man United have played this quite smartly. I actually think Man United have played this quite smartly, and they've been battered over the last month for a lack of activity. But having potentially got De Jong for a lower fee at £56 million, it's given them the wiggle room of £10 to £15 million to sign a player like Tyrell Malacia, that if we hadn't have been able to get De Jong for that £15 million cheaper, we wouldn't have been able to get Malacia. So I think United have played this quite smartly by drawing it out a little bit. And also, I kind of like the tact of letting another club bid for a player, Lyon go in for Malacia at €13 million, and then Man United go, okay, you accepted 13, we'll give you 15. I think that's quite smart business planning. Just because if United had gone straight in for Malacia, it would have been 25 or 30, I can guarantee you now. If there'd been no other interest, United would have had the pants pulled down, it'd been 30 mil. So I think this one's nailed on. I think he will be wearing a red shirt next season. I'd have De Jong in likely. Dutch Revolution, baby. Let's see how it does. Newcastle's rumour, I've picked out Neymar in L'Équipe. Now, PSG are obviously extremely keen to get rid of Neymar because of the wages, because of the fact that the new sporting project doesn't really align with Neymar in this sort of superstar status, doesn't it? They're putting their eggs very much in the Kylian Mbappe basket. But I feel like Neymar is now a superstar that nobody wants. Which of the elite European sides wants Neymar? I don't think any of them do. You know, he's going to have huge wages. He's going to command a fairly substantial fee, given that his contract renews automatically until 2027, you'd imagine. And he doesn't play enough games. The number one best trait in a footballer is availability. And he hasn't got any of it. The most appearances he's ever made at PSG was 22 starts in a season. That cannot happen if you then back him at 30 years old to join a Premier League side. You need him to be able to play 30 plus games. I don't think anybody's going to take the punt on Neymar. He's obviously an incredibly talented player, let alone Newcastle. Newcastle are doing very smart business. They're not having their pants pulled down by anyone. Botman was kind of done for a very reasonable fee in the end. Nick Pope was a smart signing. Matty Target, they didn't go and push the bank out for either. They're doing intelligent business. Dan Ashworth is an extremely frugal sporting director. Dan Ashworth and Neymar are about as far apart as Polary? As the North Pole and the South Pole. They're poles apart, is what I was trying to say. Got there eventually. So yeah, no chance. Nottingham Forest then still being linked with Nico Williams. They need a Jed Spence replacement. Nico Williams obviously spent last season on loan at Fulham. I don't see as much Fulham interest as I thought there would be. And they've already had a bid rejected, Forest, in the region of £15 million, £11 million plus £4 million in add-ons. Liverpool's outgoings as well, and their ability to sell this sort of player for like 15 to 20 million is unheralded. We've already seen it with Minamino this summer. I've seen it in the past, Solanke, Jordan Ibe. We're probably going to see it with Nico Williams. I reckon that it ends up coming out about £17 million, something like that, rising to £20 million. And I think this one gets done. So I'm going to put this one in likely. I don't know whether he's an exact replica of Jed Spence, whether or not he's going to work in that wing-back role if Steve Cooper indeed does play a three at the back with wing-backs, but let's see how he does, because he was pretty good on loan at Fulham last year. Southampton are still going down the road, and it's a pretty smart road in my opinion, of taking the offcuts, the most talented offcuts, out of some of the elite sides' academies. So we've seen Tino Livramento happen. We've seen Gavin Bazunu happen from Manchester City. We're now about to see Romeo Lavia happen. It seems like anyway. A £10 million fee has been agreed for the defensive midfielder, who is extremely highly talented. So highly thought of in Manchester City's academy. I really think they're reticent to let him go. I do believe they've got some sort of clause that allows them to have first refusal or match a bid, a buyback anyway, because he is, this is a smart move, man. I mean, Joe Shields, who is the current head of recruitment at Manchester City and head of talent management as well, I think, is actually leaving Man City and joining Southampton. So I do wonder if there's been a few nods and winks from Joe Shields to Southampton, and he said, look, these two boys, I think they're gettable at the right price, and this is the talent level in Bazunu and Romeo Lavia, and they've managed to do those deals. So I think Southampton, with this new ownership model, with this new data-led recruitment, are trying something a little bit different here, and I'm excited to see how it goes. So because of that, I think I'm going to put it in likely. I'd almost be putting that in nailed on. It's kind of halfway between the two, but either way, this is interesting. Clement Lenglet to Tottenham Hotspur. Has a transfer on loan ever split opinion so early as Lenglet? I see people call him an absolutely disastrous footballer. Other people saying he is a really competent passer, very comfy on the ball, but not very athletic. What I'm going to say is that Antonio Conte could turn a piece of wood into a world-class looking centre-back. The guy has a structure and a team shape like nobody else in world football. Towards the back end of last season, he had Ben Davies and Eric Dyer looking like Maldini and Nesta. I think Lenglet's going to be fine. I honestly think Lenglet's going to be fine. This is going to happen. Nailed on. It's going to be a loan move. Barcelona looking to shift some of those wages. And he's going to be fine, guys. People are going to hammer me for that in the comments because he's had a few bad years at Barcelona, but I truly believe Conte could put me at centre-half and I'd do a job in that structure. West Ham, big rumour being linked to Arnaut Danjuma, of course, at Villarreal. He has a €40 million release clause that I don't think West Ham are going to activate. I struggle to see this. I really do. I think David Moyes is definitely going to favour Jesse Lingard. And I'm not saying I agree with that, but I think David Moyes is going to be playing it safe at West Ham. The Vlasic move did not work last summer. He knows exactly what he's going to get out of Jesse Lingard. And I'm pretty sure West Ham fans at this stage must be getting a little bit annoyed at Jesse for not just signing on the dotted line and saying, okay, you know what, I'm coming to you. But, that's Jesse Lingard's prerogative. He can take his time, try and find the right club if he wants to. He risks something like this happening where West Ham go, okay, we don't want you then, Jesse. We want Danjuma. I just think that Danjuma, despite the fee being agreed, I think David Moyes might end up vetoing this if he can get Lingard, and I can see wages being a problem here. I can see the package between the player and the club, as Fabrizio Romano has already tweeted about this week, becoming a problem. It'd be a great signing. It'd be an excellent signing because he was awesome in the Champions League last year. Great for Villarreal when he played. He only started 17 times in La Liga, but it's unlikely for me. Wolves and Matthijs Nunes, another one that's unlikely, I think. This one feels like it's slowly getting more unlikely as well. I think if Ruben Neves doesn't leave, there's no way Matthijs Nunes signs. The fee is pretty high. It's close to 50 mil, isn't it? And I don't know whether Wolves spend that. I'm surprised that they've let Polinia go to Fulham in the end, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is just a gut feeling. I just don't see him ending up at Wolves. All right, so that was my ranking of rumours I've seen over the last 2 weeks, or at least over the last few days for some of the Premier Leagues or all of the Premier League's sides. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear particularly from Leicester fans because I'm just so confused what's going on at the club. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.